I will never forget the experience of shooting this season of Westworld.
You just never know what to expect until you're there, and then you see it, and it's just so much more amazing than you could have ever conceived.
I had a lot of fun with Hale this season because she could be anything. She could wear whatever she wants because it's her world. So that was really a lot of fun. And she went from some corporate to elegant to really fun, badass kind of look in the end.
This show is incredible because not only is it centered around robots, but a lot of the technologies we use are so futuristic. Like today, we're surrounded by cameras and TV screens that make up an entire world, which they've turned into Times Square.
The most challenging thing we're doing this season by far is Times Square. A real-life environment with big depth, reflective surfaces, LED screens, people, background, the whole deal. It's something that needs to feel like a real environment, that needs to feel like something that we know, that feels familiar, but also futuristic. The challenge of natural light and buildings and trees and foliage and all those different things tying together. You know, we really did try and do something that's one of the hardest things to do.
In order to control Times Square and to show the progression that we thought was appropriate for the story, Jay Worth and the visual effects team pitched that we use the volume, which would allow us to really create a space that was different and unique and could show a Times Square that didn't exist. One of the ideas that I had was that all of the billboards and the commercial content, which is no longer needed since all the humans are controlled by Hale, could give way to a digital version of Central Park. So all of the LED walls and billboards now become a forest of trees that allow you to come into this space and feel a natural energy amidst the urban environment. As we move into episode 8, where the chaos ensues and the world is reverting back in terms of civility, we started to play with the original content starting to bleed back through. So the previous known Times Square glitching back in amongst the trees.
This is something that we have to plan way ahead of time, because knowing which way the directors want to look and which way they want to shoot is very helpful so that we know exactly what we have to do to this asset to make it look great.
You have to plan, and you have to plan well. The more prep you get, the better off you are in a shoot.
Richard Lewis is so incredible. You know, he's just one of those directors that already knows what he wants before he comes to set, and he's just ready to go. You know, he comes out swinging, and he knows how to communicate to his cast, to his crew.
I think the final farewell with Caleb is kind of bittersweet, and I think he knows now she is safe and she feels safe with this family, and it's kind of come full circle. You know, he left her before, now she leaves him, and she finally feels like that father figure was there. It's so perfect.
She essentially decides to take herself offline, and funnily, it was something that I'd kind of been thinking about a lot, because I think almost since the character was introduced, I always thought that she was courting a very painful and gruesome death. And so once you're a robot, it's sort of like I've always thought, how do you die? You could always just create so many copies of people, as we've seen on this show. And so I've always thought it would be really fascinating to see someone who has the potential to be immortal, that has the potential to rebuild themselves and rebuild themselves better, elect to make that choice themselves. And in this case, she does it in a sacrificial way. And selfishly, it's like, I love the character, whatever her foibles are. And it was really a beautiful scene to shoot because we were at the Hoover Dam, which is just like an astounding location, really beautiful. And I thought a lot about what it must have felt like for her, this moment of freedom, in a way, of being inside of nature and quiet. It felt very peaceful there. And so, yeah, it was a peaceful way for her to go, which I think is interesting.
By the end of the season, I think of her as a very noble character. Her reign is challenged, but in the end, she makes a choice to not continue her own story. And I think that's her way of stepping off of this loop. And she's handing the story over to someone else now.